Hi, I'm James Barfield with your Urban Connection. Remember, this is the channel that is often imitated but is never duplicated. We talk about things that others don't want to talk about. Now, you know, I want to just mention uh, on last Saturday, there was a high school basketball game that was played between Topeka High School and Valley Center High School. Now, this game was a very close game, and I can understand that the young high schoolers that were in attendance and any others were very excited, and I can understand that the emotions were flowing or whatever. But the Topeka High School coach made some comments that they were witnessing some actions that were quite disturbing. Uh, Among those was some vile, vulgar language being shown for the Topeka High School players. Also, some racist language was being uttered toward at least one particular and maybe more of the African American Topeka High School players. And there was, for what reason is unbeknownst to me, someone in the audience from the Valley Center High School had brought to a high school basketball game a black naked doll. That's right, a black naked doll. And they were using this doll as a prop to taunt the African American players on the Topeka High School basketball team. Now, for the life of me, I cannot understand what the interjection is between a high school basketball game and a black or white naked baby doll. What's the purpose of bringing that to a high school basketball game? I don't understand. Now, I want to tell you, there's been some responses, a couple from the Valley Center High School superintendent and the high school principal, and I guess a spokesman. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let me explain something to you right off the bat. This case involves a little bitty school district, namely Valley Center, that has now made national news regarding this incident. Now, I understand, as I'm sure you do, that the first thing they want to do is get this off the front pages of the AP, okay, the Kansas City Star, and who knows whatever national publications, and not to mention the local and regional TV broadcasts that are happening. And this has made national news, and for not just one, but for at least 3 to 4 days. So naturally, they want to hurry up and get this thing off the national media spotlight as quickly and as quietly as they possibly can. So basically, what they do is they then, first of all, they want to refute these allegations that the uh, Topeka High School coach had made against the Valley Center students and the spectators in the stands. So the first thing they do is they issue an apology. They know there's been some wrongdoing, but the first thing they want to do is to tell you that they, and this was like Tuesday, now this happened on Saturday, but by Tuesday, they want to tell you that they've looked and they've checked and they've found no incidents where the N word was used. Now, the only problem with that is this comes after two of their own high school students have said they were in attendance. They were in the spectator section at this ball game, and they heard and they witnessed the N word being used toward a Topeka basketball player who had been filed and was at the free throw line to shoot free throws. And the Valley Center High School spectator, someone in the audience, was taunting this player with foul, vulgar language and using the N word. Now, both of these students clearly said they heard the N word. As a matter of fact, one of them said, hey, it happens all the time around here. But the school superintendent and the high school principal and the spokesperson from Valley Center claim they had not been able to find any evidence to support this allegation. Now, something is wrong. And I'm going to tell you, I don't believe that the public is getting the correct, accurate, transparent answers that they deserve. Now, so they say they're going to continue to investigate. Meanwhile, this story is continuing to appear on more and more news media sources around the country, not the state, the country. So they come back with another update on Thursday or Friday, I'm not sure which one. And they mention, they acknowledge that their spectators, someone in their audience, did indeed get involved in inappropriate taunts, and there were someone in the audience, they claim, that maybe did use the N word, but it wasn't from any of their students section. Okay? Yeah. They don't want to tell us how many students they said that they disciplined some students. There were some consequences, but they won't tell us what the consequences were. They claim that the federal law prevents them from providing that information. They won't tell us how many students or how many people were involved. They claim that federal law will not allow them to provide that information. Well, this must be a new law, ladies and gentlemen, because I'm pretty familiar with usually what happens in the high school rule book and handbook. And I've looked everywhere, and I've even Googled it. I cannot find a federal law that prohibits the school district from providing and making available to the public what disciplinary action was taken regarding a high school student. Now, you don't have to provide his name, but there's no law that says that I know of. Now, if it's a new law, show it to me, because I want to see it. Because I don't trust you. Because you've already said before, in the very beginning, in your first report, that you couldn't find any evidence that the N word was used, only to come back on Friday and admit that it was used. So I can't take you for your word. So I don't trust you. So I want to see the federal law that you're referring to that prevents you from providing to the public the disciplinary action that was taken against any number of students. You know, look, I've seen, and I'm sure most of you have, where students from high schools have been punished or removed from school for 3 days, 10 days, 30 days, even for the entire school year. That's been made public. What's the difference? Now, like I said, if this is a new law, show it to me. I want to see it. You see, in other words, because basically what you're doing is you are saying that the coach and the athletic department from Topeka, you're calling them liars. You also say that there was other information, that other complaints that they made, allegations. You're saying that there was some exaggeration on some of the complaints that they made. Really? Tell us what they are. You see, you leave a bunch of questions unanswered. Now, let me just say one thing to you. I am not a news reporter. I'm a news commentator. I don't report the news, I commentate on the news. See, the difference between me and a news reporter is you could tell a news reporter whatever you want, and they won't have any follow-up questions. They'll just take whatever you say, take it to an editor, they write up a report and put it in the paper. Same thing with a television station. They're not gonna, they're not going to have any follow-up questions. If you say, hey, this didn't happen, that's the end of it. I'm a commentator. I don't accept that. I want answers. I have an obligation to my audience to provide them answers. We want to know, basically, to offer facts, not just empty statements, facts. Now, I'll just tell you, I have attempted on about 3 to 4 occasions to contact the officials, the superintendent's office, the principal's office at Valley Center. I've gotten no return phone calls after having left several messages. Now, when I call the superintendent's office, I get a recording that sounds like it's from an international tech company. There's due to the high volume of calls we're having, we would ask you to leave a message with your name and phone number, and we'll call you back as soon as possible. Well, that's a lie, because I've left my number 3 times at each one of them, the principal's office and the superintendent's office, and not received a single phone call. But like I said, I'm looking for answers. So therefore, I'm reporting on this story today, but I'm not finished with this story. I want to have a sit-down conversation with the superintendent and or the principal, because I want to get some of these questions answered. I want to know, was it one of your students that was, now we know that it was a student that had the black naked doll that was passed on. We know that was a student, and they've admitted that. But I want to know whether the people that were using the foul, vulgar language toward a Topeka player, was that one of your students? Was the individual or individuals that were uttering the N-word, were those your students? Now, if they were, I want to know what were the consequences that they suffered? Or was this just talk? Because if you can't provide me with some factual consequences, I'm not buying it. Now, we know that one person, at least one person, was taken out of the gym for a period of time, and we have to assume that this was a person that was involved in the taunting and maybe the racist comments, I don't know, but they were taken out only to be brought back in. Now, if this was a person that was engaging in this type of a conduct and you take them out, that's one thing. But when you bring them back in, that tells me something else. That tells me that you're not serious about getting at the bottom of this problem. And that tells me that if you're not serious, more than likely it will happen again. Okay? So right now, as far as I'm concerned, the public is not getting the real story from the Valley Center High School superintendent's office, principal's office, or whoever the spokesman is. Something is not right. It doesn't sound right, and it doesn't feel right to me. Okay? Now, let's face it. I was born at night, but it wasn't last night. Okay? So you can't pass that off on me. Like I said, I am not a news reporter. I'm a news commentator. There is a big difference. You know, I want to tell you, one time I remember that I had a young lady, friend of mine, that had fielded a question from a friend of hers. And this friend of hers considered herself a journalist. And I was doing a commentary. I had done a commentary or two. And so her friend told her to ask me, was I supposed to be reporting the news or was I supposed to be the news? You see, that shows me that even though she was a journalist, she didn't know the distinction between a news reporter and a news commentator. I don't have an obligation to report the news. I'm not a journalist. I don't go out and gather the news. But once I find news or once news is reported, I have the right to provide commentary, to present my opinion about what I have seen or witnessed. Right? So there's a big distinction, ladies and gentlemen. And that's why I come on here. And that's why I tell you, I can say things and will say things that you won't hear anywhere else because they're not going to do the type of work and job that I do. These people, your news reporters, they work for a TV station or they work for a radio station or they work for a newspaper or whatever. They can't say what I can say. I don't work for anybody, okay? So I don't have to worry about my job. I don't have to worry about being too aggressive, when I'm interviewing someone or seeking information for the public's benefit. That's why I do this, because of the fact that too often times you don't get the benefit of the real facts and the truth. You don't get the benefit of the transparency that I attempt to provide here to you each and every time I make one of these videos. So as far as this Topeka / Valley Center High School fiasco, basketball game fiasco is concerned, I'm not finished with it yet. Okay, so stay tuned for an update. I'll try to get you some facts and some answers to the unanswered questions. I'm James Barfield.